Get Shrek'd. What's up, ladies, babies, gentlemen, every single one of them. Today we're checking out 5 things that I love and 5 things that I love less about the Walrus Audio M1. Consider this my mini review of this pedal, where I will walk through, we'll talk a little bit about kind of the overview and some of the feature sets and some of my favorite sounds. I'll demonstrate those for you, and we'll also talk about kind of those 5 things that I love and 5 things I don't, and I'll give you a little rating out of 10, I think, for this pedal. So this pedal basically takes a bunch of modulation algorithms and packs it into one compact pedal powered by their Shark DSP processor as a part of their MAKO series with the nice MAKO Shark on the front. And yeah, so it's this series was started with their D1, and then they had the R1, and then they had the ACS1, and then they had the M1. So the ACS1 got a firmware update, the D1 got a version 2 upgrade. I think they made some changes to the casing as well. But the ACS1, thankfully, you didn't have to actually buy a new ACS1. You could just upgrade the firmware on your existing ACS1, which was cool. Now, I'll leave my thoughts out of on the ACS1, but let's just say it wasn't for me, and I find myself happier using a different pedal. But it's not a bad pedal. For some people, it might be the best pedal. So anyway, this pedal is one of those digital pedals nowadays that has MIDI capability, 2 foot switches, 3 toggle switches, and 6 knobs. It seems like these pedals are everywhere. I have a bunch of pedals with 6 knobs, and on my pedal board, this one, the UA Dream, has the same number of foot switches, toggle switches, and knobs. The Friedman BEOD has 6 knobs. When I had the Earthquaker Devices Bit Commander, which is on my shelf back there, it also had 6 knobs. My Golden Boy has 6 knobs and 2 foot switches, so it seems like a lot of pedals are getting up to 6 knobs these days. So that's just a thing, I guess. And each knob can do different things. Actually, almost all of them, 4 of the 6 knobs can have multiple functions, up to 3 functions, I believe. And there's 2 foot switches. So the foot switches, that's the easiest to explain. They're nice and soft touch because it's a digital pedal, of course. So, you know, they're not going ka-kunk, ka-kunk. We got 2 foot switches. This one's for bypass. And if you hold it down, you can adjust the lo-fi controls using this knob and these 2 toggle switches. I'll get onto that later. And then there's a bypass foot switch, tap tempo and skip foot switch over here. So you can tap in your tap tempo for the modulation rate, and then you can also hold it down to engage this really cool skipping feature, which I'll show a cool demo of right now. Need to record that later, note to self. And then you can press on both foot switches to toggle between the presets, the 3 presets in each bank. And so you can select which bank of presets using this A, B, and C foot switch right here. So I'll show you that close up. And then you can press down the foot switch to go between red, green, and blue presets on each bank. So you get 9 total presets stored on board the pedal without using MIDI, which is pretty darn useful, I have found. So I have a chorus, a vibrato, and a tremolo on bank A, which is what I normally use. Bank B, I've got a rotary, I think another vibrato, and a univibe. And then I know bank C, I have a phaser, and I can't remember what else I have on there, but I know phaser's the red preset. In terms of I/O, we have stereo 1/4-inch inputs on the side, so one for the left channel, one for the right channel. Obviously, if you're going to do mono, you just use this one. And then on the other side, we have stereo outputs as well. So we have mono out and stereo out, or mono out and the other output. And then we also have 9-volt DC in and a micro USB port for firmware updates. Sadly, there's no MIDI librarian function using the Walrus app, which is a bit of a bummer to me because I think with the pedal this deep and able to store this many presets via MIDI, it would be awesome if Walrus upgraded this pedal to have USB over MIDI and gave us a librarian feature. This would massively improve my life when it comes to using this pedal. So anyway, that's something I wish they would include. It takes 300 milliamps at 9 volts. So make sure your power supply can handle that. And then on the top, we have 2 5-pin MIDI DIN ports, which is pretty cool, full-sized, and they do in and through. So you can't use this to trigger it can't send MIDI messages out of this pedal, but you can send MIDI in and then take out, whatever MIDI was going into this pedal can come out via the through jack unaltered. And then, yeah, we got knobs for all kinds of stuff on the top here. So the knobs are a bit confusing, so let's go over them. We have the mode, the kind of algorithm category knob, the shark knob right here. And then that goes between chorus, phaser, tremolo, vibrato, rotary, and filter. And we'll talk more about what those exactly do. Sadly, there's no flanger on this pedal, so if you were looking for flanger on the M1, there isn't one. You could try to recreate one with the chorus, but it's pretty... I haven't been able to make a good flanger sound on this, sadly. Okay, so category knob is here. Rate and depth knobs are pretty self-explanatory right here. They also have other functions as enabled by a firmware update to allow. So if you hold down the bypass foot switch, you can, the rate knob, I believe, blends in the dry signal, and the other one adjusts the volume boost or cut of the preset. So that's kind of nice to have. The lo-fi knob controls, just blends in the intensity of the lo-fi effect, which I'll get into later. And then, so next we have the tweak and the tune knobs. So let's start with the tweak knob. So basically these 2 knobs have multiple functions that are determined by these little switches below them. Okay, so for the tweak knob, we can control between the wave shape of the modulation, the subdivision of tap tempo subdivision from the foot switch, and then the type of modulation in that category. So for chorus, for instance, we start with single chorus, then we can have double chorus, and then we can have triple chorus. For vibrato, we would go between standard pitch vibrato, tape vibrato, and then vinyl vibrato, I believe. Or maybe I can't remember exactly which one is where, but there are tape and vinyl style vibratos on there. And the vinyl vibrato, I believe, is you only get 2 speeds, just the kind of standard 33 and then 45. So it's a kind of accurately modeled vinyl vibrato on there. And then for tremolo, you get different types of tremolo. You get standard, you get standard just volume, you get whatchamacallit, harmonic tremolo. I can't remember what the other one is. I'll have to insert that. Anyway, you basically just change the type. For the subdivisions, you have quarter, triplet quarter, and eighth note. I really wish that you could do dotted eighth or 16th on here. It's a bit of a bummer, really. I think the Monument had the perfect number of subdivisions, which was 3. But I think in order to confuse people less, Walrus just took out one of the subdivisions because there were only 3 types of 3 types per category of modulation, and they didn't want to add a 4th one or make the knob really confusing. So I guess that's why they did that. It's a bit of a shame. It's one of the things I dislike about this pedal. And then the wave shape, you get sine wave, triangle, and square wave, and then you're able to modify those wave shapes using the tune knob over here, which is pretty cool. So that's what this knob does when we're not controlling the lo-fi parameters, which we'll get to later. And then the tune knob over here on this side, if I get my face out of here, it controls an additional 3 parameters as set by this knob or this switch here. And those are tone, which is like kind of the treble response of the modulation algorithm. So all the way up is kind of more bright and transparent, and you can turn it down to kind of darken the modulation and make it kind of more warm and woolly. And then you have symmetry or SYM, and this controls how symmetrical the waveform is. So you can take your square wave, right, and you can basically, if any synth guys are here, you can basically like turn it into a pulse wave. You can change the duty cycle of the wave. It just makes it more lopsided. So you can do that with sine and triangle and square to create more wave shapes than just the 3, which is nice. There's also an X control, which is the last one. So that basically changes depending on the modulation type. Just read the manual, honestly. And then the lo-fi, basically you turn this knob up, and it will increase the intensity of the lo-fi effects. And basically the lo-fi effects are controlled by these 2 knobs. And so you have 6 lo-fi effects, which is a lot. So on the tweak knob, you can do an envelope kind of control. So you can kind of have it respond to the volume of your playing, which is cool. And then you have an overdrive, so you can add some drive to the signal, which is pretty cool, honestly. And then you have space, which of course adds a nice reverb, which is pretty cool. This thing has built-in drive and reverb. And then on the other knob, on the tune knob, we have age, which basically, as you turn the tune knob up on the age control, it's going to kind of lo-fi your signal. Literally, it's like a tape aging thing, and it basically takes away top and bottom end until you're left with mids as you turn it all the way up. And then there's noise, which adds in vinyl-like noise, which is pretty cool, vinyl and tape noise. And then the final one is warble, which basically just modulates the modulation. So you get more modulation, so to speak. Okay? And that's pretty much the pedal. So the presets are stored. There's 3 presets, red, green, and blue per bank. And there's 3 banks, which are controlled by this middle toggle switch. So you have A, B, and C banks. Come on, focus. A, B, and C. And so you have 3 red presets, 3 green presets, and 3 blue presets in banks A, B, and C, respectively. Okay, so let's move on to the 5 things that I love and 5 things I don't love. So 5 things I love about this pedal. I love that it packs so much into such a small pedal. This pedal is the size of a compact Boss pedal, compact Walrus, you know, standard compact pedal size, and yet I have 18 different modulation algorithms. That's pretty dope. And it doesn't require, one, amp of power at 9 volts. It doesn't require 18 volts or 12 volts or anything. It just takes 9 volts, 300 milliamps, pretty easy to power by, compared to like something like a Whammy or a Line 6 HX Stomp. It's relatively easy to use. All of the stuff, it takes a little bit of thinking to get in there with all the double features and the switches and whatnot. But honestly, you could dial up a sound pretty quickly. I really like the vibrato sound in here. It's just really great. Pitch vibrato is so great. And when they added the ability to blend in the dry signal, now you can do a more kind of traditional chorus sound. I found the chorus sound in here to be okay, and the 3 algorithms are nice, but I think they tend to take, they do a lot to the signal. So I found that the vibrato was a little bit more kind of standard chorus, and I found I'm able to get more out of that most of the time. The tremolo is also really great. You still get that great harmonic tremolo from the Monument, which I do love very much. Let's see, the phaser is cool. The rotary is actually very nice, and on the rotary, the X control actually gives you a cabinet sim. So I guess in a pinch, this thing could be your cabinet sim. It's a very, interesting sound. It's very Leslie sound, and the different types on there are, just horn and rotor together, just the horn or just the lower rotor. So you can kind of decide which rotary sound you get. And then the filter is cool, but I haven't used it a ton. I really wish the envelope control was not in the lo-fi parameters. But I haven't found the filter to be, I was kind of hoping to do auto wah and like kind of, Mutron style things with it, but I haven't found it to be the most intuitive to get dialed up. And it's maybe just not the best filter one, but think of this thing as like a greatest hits. Like, it's not going to go mega deep on each thing. And the lo-fi stuff, I think Walrus really emphasized, as this is kind of a performance tool to do all that fun stuff. And so you could have a lo-fi, setting for your chorus, and that can be like your song intro where you're like playing it and you want it to sound really lo-fi, and then you click to the next preset where it's not lo-fi, and then it sounds really big and fat. You could do a lot of stuff like that with it. And then the skip feature is really great. So I really love the lo-fi and the skip features, some of the weird stuff about this pedal that's really unique and really cool. Having the ability to add reverb in a modulation pedal is really strange, and overdrive is really strange again, but and the age and the warble, all that stuff is really phenomenal, and it's really cool that they packed it in here. And I really think that for a lot of players, this could be the thing to getting your sound out of it. I love the full MIDI jacks on here. I love MIDI implementation. I haven't really used it that much, but when I do get a MIDI controller someday, when I have enough cash, I'm going to really love having this thing be MIDI integrated and being able to dial up all my presets via MIDI. So I can't wait for that. I love that it is tap tempo, you know, and yeah, I just love how many presets there are and how much you can control all of them. It's really phenomenal. So I love that it's stereo. You know, that's a great thing as well. And I love that, you know, you don't have to, you aren't forced to menu dive and just use 2 rotary encoders and, you know, do that type of thing. I like that it has a real analog feeling interface, even though it has to be digital to, you know, have all those sub parameters and things like that. But I do find that, you know, because they're trying to put a lot of parameters into such a small pedal with this non-screen type interface, it's a bit confusing to kind of manage what parameters are tuned to what setting. You don't really know, so you have to kind of do it by ear a little bit, which is fine, and I think that's how we should do stuff a lot of the time. Let's think for a second here about the things that I don't love. So I kind of mentioned them. One, I really wish this thing had USB over MIDI. That would make my life a lot better if we had plug it into the USB port. Walrus Audio.io pulls up all the presets that can be stored in this pedal, and you can manage them, move them around, see all the settings, and edit it in the computer. Save the presets to somewhere, you know, export them, import them, all of that stuff. That would be so phenomenal. So Walrus, please make a MIDI, do USB over MIDI for the future versions of this. I don't know if that's a hardware limitation, but it would be really awesome if the M2 had that. I don't need to see I don't even need a screen on this. That's all I want is just USB over MIDI to have that capability to do that fun stuff. To me, I think the chorus, I was most disappointed by the chorus algorithm on this pedal, the chorus algorithms. And it's not, please hear me out, I'm not saying that they're bad. They're really good choruses. They sound like classic choruses like the CE1 and things like that. But coming from the Juliana, which had so much tweakability and was so fun, and was so special in what you could do with it, like the lag time and the, you know, all of that stuff, and the wet dry, full wet dry control. It was so cool. It was such a cool pedal. And I'm going to be honest, this does not do everything the Juliana can do. It can do some things that the Juliana could do, but it definitely doesn't do everything. And that to me is a little bit of a bummer because the Juliana was so special to me. It was such a special pedal. The M1 came out and I was like, well, guess see you later, Juliana. I'm going to go M1. And to be honest, I regret that decision a little bit. But the nice thing is I don't have to worry about tremolo, you know, and this thing. It's just they're all in here, so I can do both. But, you know, I do kind of miss the Juliana. And now that I'm using the UA Dream all the time, it's like maybe I could use tremolo. Or maybe I don't need the tremolo in here. I could just use the Dream for that. I also don't like the way that the chorus rolls off the top end. There's a bit of kind of low passing filtering going on, so it smooths out the sound a little bit. I want it to let a little bit more kind of aggression from distortions go through. And again, people are saying, well, no crap, Zach, just put it before your drives, man. And it's like, yeah, but I want it after the drives so that the tremolo works, you know? So I don't know. People have different opinions, but I guess if I'm optimizing for chorus, I should put it in the front. But I think if I'm only going to use this for chorus, I probably should just go back to the Juliana. But it is a really good pedal, and the lo-fi and the skip stuff is really fun to use, and I think that makes this pedal truly unique and special. Okay, so we said MIDI librarian, we said chorus issues. or just preferences, not issues, I don't think.
Okay, so editor Zach here with a bit of a note. So I think where the M1 really shines is in mono for the chorus. The chorus algorithm rules in mono. I think it's just incredible, aside from taking off a bit of that top end that you might want from your drive pedals. I think in stereo, I think it works less well, and I'm not really sure why, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what's going on with the stereo image, but it has something to do with, like, when you put it in stereo, all of a sudden it feels like there's less chorus going on, and then when you crank up the depth and the X control, now it feels like the two signals are really delayed from each other, because it feels like one is dry and one is wet, is kind of what it ends up feeling like, even though that's not the case, especially with algorithm 3. But algorithm 1 and 2, they can feel that way because it's either a single chorus or two choruses in series. So I don't know. It's just, you don't get the Juliana sound in stereo, and that I think is what I was most bummed about. But you can get some nice CE1 and small clone sounds. I was getting some very Nirvana sounds today that sounded a lot like the small clone or a jazz chorus type of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think the choruses, I'm very picky about chorus because it's one of those effects that I really love, and there's chorus that I love and there's chorus that I don't love. So I don't know. All that to say is that you should try it out. You should try out this pedal, and if you hate it, sell it or return it or whatever you do to get rid of gear. But if you love it, keep it. And I think that if I use it in mono, I do love it, but I don't know. I'm still kind of I'm not like 100% happy with the chorus sound, but I think I can make it work. I make it work for now, and I'm using a lot more vibrato than chorus nowadays anyway, so that kind of works for me. Anyway, I like to play with a good amount of reverb most of the time, so vibrato ends up sounding like chorus when you put a lot of reverb, because, you know, everything's kind of swimming. So that's kind of my workaround. But anyway, I'll let you get back to the video. Okay, bye.
One other thing is that not all the algorithms are kind of level matched, so certain algorithms are quieter than others, like the chorus is pretty quiet, and then the other algorithms are a little bit louder. So I wish they would kind of go through and kind of just straighten it out a little bit, so that way I don't have to fiddle with the boost control so much to like mess with that. I also find this pedal to be a little bit on the dark side for certain algorithms. Like the chorus, I'm cranking the tone control all the way up, and it'd be really great if noon was like unity treble response, and then I could turn it up or down to give me more top end or low end. But I think the other algorithms, again, it's kind of the chorus algorithm I feel like is the only one that kind of does this. So you could lump that in with the other one. Okay, the last thing I don't like is the subdivisions. These are too slow for me. Quarter, that's fine. It's really slow. Could be useful for chorus or phaser. Quarter triplet, I guess that's useful for some stuff. Eighth, okay, great. Tremolo, I gotta have 16th. I'm sorry. Like tapping in the tremolo and you're going like, and the song's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're like, to try to get that kind of fast chop is pretty annoying. So I really wish that they would give us a 16th note subdivision. And again, if they had a MIDI librarian, then maybe we could just tweak that in MIDI. Could be cool. But again, I think that when I do get a MIDI controller, I'm just going to send double speed time to this pedal. I think this is a really fantastic multi-modulation pedal that's really compact and going to be versatile and usable by a lot of people. If the lo-fi stuff scares you, just turn the lo-fi control off and don't use it. Really easy. It's really flexible and really great. All of my complaints are very minor. I really think this is a well-executed product, and I give it a resounding rating of 8.5 out of 10. I really think it is worth the money if you can get one used. Even new, I think it's a good deal. I think if you're looking to manage a lot of presets, like having multiple per song, you should probably check out something like the Mobius or the Boss MD500. Or the Eventide or Line 6 stuff. They just are able to store a lot more presets and whatnot. So if you're getting this thing for that, you better have a darn good MIDI controller with a good librarian feature. Otherwise, it might be a little confusing to manage all the presets. I think in terms of, the MIDI capability seems to be very well integrated, so you can control anything on this pedal via MIDI CC, which is great, and you can store a lot of presets in the pedal, which is great, again, so you don't have to manually pipe in all the CC information. I think a lot of the cool features like the lo-fi and the skip feature are very, very dope and great. And then the rotary one, you can use the tap tempo to speed up or slow down or break the rotary speaker, which is really awesome. And break as in B-R-A-K-E, as in slow down the rotors, not B-R-E-A-K. E-A-K, yeah, as in destroy. So, yeah, I think this pedal is really awesome. I think it's 8.5 to 9 out of 10. That's kind of the rating I'd give it. It's a little on the expensive side, but if it's replacing 3 modulation pedals on your board, I mean, that's a good deal, If you're replacing 2 $200 pedals, and this pedal costs, I think it retails for $400, that's, a straight across trade, and you get more board space. So it's great for tight boards and stuff like that. I think more advanced people are going to want to check out, stuff like the Boss and the Strymon and the Eventide stuff. But if you just want a couple of great, greatest hits of modulation, this thing's going to rule the roost, and it's going to be awesome for you. So take it easy. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.